Welcome to our webinar on glazing pricing. Today we have a lot to cover, so I'm going to get us started right away by going into Frame Ready. And when we go into Frame Ready, I'm working in level 3 or 4, and when we're working on pricing, those are the levels that you should be in. Level 3 is a great everyday password and gives you the ability to do this. The first thing we're going to do is take a look at the pricing on the work order screen. So when you're in the work order screen, you'll notice that there are the width and the height that you're going to enter in, and then the selection for the glazing item that you want to choose, whichever type you want, whether it's a premium or conservation. And then the prices will calculate automatically for you on the right-hand side. But there's also a little number in green up here in the top left-hand corner. And this number in green is the suggested glass size, and that's going to print out onto your printed work order. This number is coming from a chart that's stored at the top of the screen. If you were to click on Perform and go down to Setup Options, and then over to the right, go down to Default glass sizes and click on that, and you're going to get a little chart in here. Now, if you take a look at your chart on your Frame Ready program, it may only have a few sizes in there. It may just say 8 by 10, 16 by 20, 32 by 40. And what happens then is one of the reports that we produce later on is not going to be as valuable to you if you are limited to the sizes that you have in this screen, because it's giving you the suggested size. The glass report is going to give you the sizes that you could possibly be purchasing. So take a moment to edit the screen if you want. And one of the easy things to do on here is if you need to add more in, you can drag them down and delete the entry where it was. They do need to be in numbered sequence, so you can't put a 5 by 7 down here at the bottom. They do have to increase in size as they go down the list. But as I said, you can drag and drop them any place on the list. Just make sure you don't have any gaps in here as well. And that's going to be a very helpful tool for you. So as I said, it's giving you the suggested size based on what you have over on the right-hand side of the screen. And of course, in addition to your mat board margins, it's going to continue to change with the glass size. Now, if you have some glazing that you're doing and you have 2 pieces of glass that are going to be in here, and you want to sandwich the art between them, you can click on the underlined word glazing fabric. And this is where you can select the other type of glazing that you're going to use on the back side of the piece. Once you've selected that, there is a fit to frame as well. So if I had multiple frames in here, I could say that I wanted to fit this into the 2nd or 3rd or 4th frame, and then it's going to size it for me again. Down here in the bottom corner, when I click Done, it's going to give me the retail price of the 2 pieces of glass combined together. And then in the note field, you may want to put a note in there just to identify which glass is going on the back, which glass is going onto the front. And as I said, if you had different frames entered in here into the stacked frames, what would happen is that it would change the price depending on which frame it was going to be entered into. So those are just the little tips on there. Going up to reports, at the top of the screen, there's a great report in here called the glass usage report. And when you click on that, it's going to ask you for a date range. So go ahead and enter in your date range. My suggestion would be that do a good chunk of time, maybe 6 months or a year. It will take a little while for it to do that report depending on your volume. Now, if you do have a very heavy volume, you've got a large number of work orders that are in there, maybe 6 months would be fine, or maybe 2 months, depending on what you are doing. But I'm going to show you what that report looks like, and I've made a little copy of it here so that I can make it larger on the screen. The value of this report is that it's going to tell you based on those glass sizes that were determined up on the top of the screen. So even if I don't order a 24 by 30, that's fine. It's going to go into the 24 by 36 count, telling me that I've got about 10 of those that I've ordered. But the value is that if I don't normally order a 22 by 28, or I don't normally order a 24 by 36, and it's telling me that I've used up 9 of those or 7 of them, then this is an opportunity for me to say maybe I should be ordering that glass size in. So it would be more cost effective for me to do that. So take a look at your glazing usage report to find out what are the sizes that you could be ordering in that maybe are not, and then you are going to get a better value for the glass that you're purchasing. So that's the benefit of the glazing usage report. So we're going to go back into Frame Ready now, and I want to go and talk about the pricing. So we're going to go directly to the price codes file. You're going to have a pink background on your screen, and if it doesn't come up with glazing right away, which I wouldn't expect it to, then what you could do is take a look on the left-hand side of the screen. If you see the buttons on the left, click on the one for glazing, and that will find all of your glazing records, listing them all, but you're only looking at one of them because you're in the form view. If you want to see them in the list view, you're going to click on the list view button, and now you can see all 15 of your glazing items. I have pre-selected a few items, but the first thing that I want to talk about for pricing and glazing is mirrors. So we're going to go down to mirrors down here. If you do sell mirrors, you can enter those in as well. Put them in the glazing category because they are a large surface area similar to glass. You can put in the cost per size if you are cutting your own mirrors, but a lot of people actually purchase them by the foot. So my recommendation would be is that whatever it costs you per foot, then what you would want to do is type in the cost per foot in here, and actually, yeah, I'm just going to throw a number in there. And then over in the dimensions field, this is where you want to make sure you select the dimensions of 12 by 12. That means that it's that much per foot. And then on the right-hand side of the screen, you want to select a square to say, I'm going to be pricing by square foot. And it'll show you at the top of the screen that this item is being priced by square foot. And on the right-hand side, you can see the price calculations for the square foot. Now, it's also going to do the half foot as well. So it'll be, 6 by 6, 12 by 12, 18 by 18. So that's the pricing over on the right-hand side. And in this case, then that's fine. You can use a markup in here if you want, and then also a set price. If you want to add a labor charge, or if there's shipping or some sort of handling that goes along with that, you can add the set price in there as well. If you decide that you wanted to have a minimum price, you can add that in too. So it's up to you how you want to do that. Put your pricing in there, select what you want, what's going to be best for your area. Once you've changed the pricing on an item and you've got the pricing set the way you want, go up to the top right-hand corner, click on the small calendar, go down to the bottom of that calendar and click on today, that you have updated those prices today. So the next time that you come back and you take a look at this, you know exactly when was the last time that you updated the prices. The other option that you can do is that under the image tab, you can enter in the date and what the cost was, what your markup was, and what you've changed it to now. And we'll do a little bit more of that in just a moment. So the next thing about mirrors is that sometimes you have beveled edging on there. I would recommend that you would put that in under the extra tab. So that if I was to take a look at all the listed items that I have in extra, you can see down here I have beveled edge. So if you wanted to have beveled edge 1 inch, beveled edge ½ inch, quarter inch, whatever the 2 inches, whatever the amount is that you have in there, go ahead and put it in. I don't have a cost associated with that because this is the extra field, and usually that's a flat rate amount that's in that cost. And over here on the right-hand side, what I've entered in is the cost per united inch. Now, if you are pricing this per inch, okay, or per foot, remember that the united inch is double whatever it is. So whatever the cost is for 6 united inches, then I would enter in that cost. But remember, you want to mark it up. So now the cost, okay, multiplied by whatever your markup is going to be, is what you're going to put into the united inch field. And again, under the tab here, you can put in the date and how you've calculated that out. So using this with the price per united inch, knowing that the united inch is twice whatever you want, okay? So if it's going to be 12 united inches, and then basically that's a 6 by 6, so you know what it is now for 12 united inches. So calculate out the price. If you do need some help with that, I think we have something on the website that will help you to calculate those items out. Now, we're going to talk about glass and acrylic because those are two entirely different items on here. So if we were to take a look at the acrylic items first, what I would do is go up to the top of the screen, click on the Find button. I'm just going to type in the word acrylic. There it is. Okay, so these are the two options that I have in here right now. And if I click on the underlined word cost, it's going to sort them out by cost. If I click on the clear acrylic, and in here you can see that it's being priced by the cost. On the other version that I was looking at, I had the other one priced out by a code table. And the acrylic, if it's coming in just a small number of different sizes, maybe there's 1 or 2 sizes that you would carry for the acrylic, then using this option of just entering in what the wholesale cost is, what the dimensions are for the acrylic, and then going over to the right-hand side and selecting glazing pricing, enter in your markup that you want, the set price that you want, and if you do want a minimum price, you can enter that in as well. Then make your selection whether it's going to be priced on United Inch area or square inch. Now remember that the United Inch area is in favor of the framer. And if I was to click on square inch, take a look down here at the 32 by 40. When I click on square inch, you're going to notice that it's going to decrease in price. If I go back to the United Inch, it's going to increase in price. So it's just a small variation on the retail price that's being calculated, but it has to do with this is square inch in favor of the client and this is in favor of the framer. So up to you how you want to price those out. Now, when we're taking a look at acrylic, I'm going to go and take a look at the chart that I have here for the acrylic pricing. Sheila made this up for me. And it shows that the acrylic clear comes in maybe 3 sizes here. We've got 3 sizes for the reflection control. So you may not necessarily need to have all those sizes in there. But when you get to the Optium acrylic sizes, in that case, and I'm just going to slide that over to the right-hand side a little bit. In that case, what I would want to do for the Optium, because it has other sizes available, is I would want to create a code table for them. One of the ways that you could create that code table is simply to go to the code table, click on create a new code table, give it I'm going to make it a blank table, or we could use default sizes. Depending on how many sizes you carry, we can put the default sizes in. There we go. And I'm going to give this code table a name. I'm going to call it GLA for acrylic 01. The code table name really doesn't matter. Keep it short because you've got the note over here that tells you what it's for. This is something that the computer is using. You don't necessarily need to have a long name in there because it means you can't see the whole name afterwards. But if you wanted to, you could go in and say, okay, I've got a markup on here for the 16 by 20. That's the first one that I'm going to have. And then what you want to do is you want to remove all the other sizes that you aren't using on this list. And once you've removed those, then you can enter in the retail price that you've calculated out that you want to charge specifically for each of the sizes that are on those charts that you've gotten from the supplier, and you put your markup in. So that's one way of doing this. And then you would give it the name that this is for the acrylic Optium. Okay, and then once you've typed that in, go ahead and make sure that you've selected the date. Okay, and I'm just going to throw some sizes, some prices in there so that you can see them, how they're going to show up on the screen on the other side. Once we go in here, I'm going to go back to the glazing pricing, and I'm going to click on code table, and then all I need to do now is click in that large white window, look for that GLA that I put in there for the acrylic, and now it's showing that the prices that I've selected, the $50, the $75, the $100 are all in there. So that's one way of creating your code table. We're going to take a look at another way to do that in just a moment. But I just want to show you all the options that are available to you. So that gives us the options for pricing mirrors and acrylics. So Sheila, we have an opportunity now to run.
The question is, which types of glazing do you use the most?
Okay.
Glass, conservation clear, any reflection control glass, ultra view or art glass, or museum glass? Hit the share button. So yes, 38% of you use regular glass. Looks like the majority of folks use conservation clear glass. Reflection control is 19%. Ultra view or art glass is 25%, and museum glass is 19%.
Great. Super, because we're going to be working with conservation clear next.
Yes.
Super. Thank you very much, Sheila.
Okay.
There. So let's go back into our glass pricing now. And we're going to take a look at the ones that I had selected here. If I go back up to the list view, there we are. And what I want to do is I want to click on find the marked records because I have hand selected the ones that I'm looking at. And I'm going to click on cost so that I can sort them out by cost. And I created one here. So one of the easiest ways for you to price your glass, we'll start out with this record here, is that you would enter in the cost for the light size that you want to price by. And once you've entered that in, just move over to the right-hand side of the screen, click on the Glazing Pricing tab, select the markup that you want to use, the set price, which is considered the labor charge or if there's shipping or anything else that you need to add on, and then a minimum price if you want that on there as well. But then you have the option again of United Inch Area or Square Inch. Now, I would recommend United Inch Area because it is in your favor. And you could stop here and say, that's great, I've got my pricing set up and I'm done and everything's finished. Now, the only drawback on this is that if we were to go into the screen where I'm going to compare the pricing of just the markup and set price against the code table, we're going to go down here to the price comparison button. And here's where you can see, because I've got the regular glass pricing up here, where I've just used a markup and a set price for this. And you can see that for an 18 United Inch, 36 United Inch, 54, that's a 24 by 30, and 32 by 40, they're pretty close in retail price. So there's not much difference there. The difference, however, comes up here with the larger sizes. So when I get up here to a larger 40 by 60, or if it was available in the 48 by 96, then it would create the price up here. But you can see there's a big difference between the 40 by 60 between these two methods. And that's because I put in the table that my pricing was going to be based on the 32 by 40. Now, if I choose to use, and I've got my little cheat chart here, the wholesale cost for the 40 by 60, which is $19.49. So I'll change this and say, no, we're going to go with the $19.49 instead. I'll change the dimensions to be 40 by 60. And now when I go back to the glass pricing, and I'm going to click the reset button. If you don't see prices in the sampler, click the reset button so that you can see them. Okay, and now I'm going to go back to the price sampler. And while the prices are closer up here now, okay, not quite the same, let's reset them. Well, actually, yeah, so it's a little bit different. Okay, but then you can see down here that it's charging more for the smaller sizes in the other type. The option for you is to put in the largest one if you are going to use that method of pricing. Okay, but I do want to talk about another concern that I have about pricing that way. On here, if we take a look here, this is a pricing by United Inch Area. So if somebody came in with a 16 by 20, it's going to be 36 United Inches. You're going to retail at $21.15. However, if someone came in with a piece that was 8 by 28, then that too is going to be 36 United Inches, and you're going to charge them $21.15. However, you need to go down here and use a larger piece of glass. And you should have charged more for that larger piece of glass, but instead you're pricing by the United Inch. It's not taking into consideration the light size that you need to use. It's for that reason that I would suggest that we're going to price by the code table and price by the light size rather than using this method. If you're just starting out and you want to start out with this, that's awesome. Go ahead, give it a start. At least it's a way to get you started. But I do recommend the code table instead. The other option, the concern here too, is that if you did stay with 32 by 40 and you had two entries in here, one glass 32 by 40, glass 40 by 60, you have to make sure that your staff know when they're on the work order that they have to take a look to know what the suggested glass size is and make sure that they select the one that's 40 by 60 or 16 by 20 or whatever it is correct in the list. So let's go talk about the code tables now. Code table, it can be created by a comparison chart that we have, the glass pricer. And we're going to get into that in just a moment. There are two tools, or actually just there's another tool that I want to show you, and that was the price comparison screen. We were there for just a moment. If we go back to the price comparison screen and we take a look at the items that we have listed in here, you can see, you know what, I'm just going to go back for a moment and get rid of my test record here because we don't need that anymore. If you have items in here that you don't use, delete them. That's just causes confusion to everyone else when they're making selections on the work order otherwise. So you can see that I've sorted them out by cost, and the cost is increasing, but you'll also notice that the markup that I've selected is a higher markup for my lower cost of glass and a lower markup for my high cost glass. And yet the set price changes so that it's a lower set price for the less expensive glass, a larger, higher set price for the more expensive museum glass. And the reason for that is that with the less expensive glass, if I happen to break it, it's not costing me that much for that piece of glass. However, when I get down to the museum glass, if I'm breaking that, it is going to be very expensive for me to replace that piece that I've broken. Also, handling for the larger sizes, we want to take that into consideration as well. So you could see a pattern start to emerge in your pricing, and take a look for that pattern. The other thing that I like to suggest here, there we go, is that some people are concerned that if you use the same markup on everything, that's going to be a better balance for your pricing, or they're concerned that if their museum glass isn't marked up high, then they're not going to make a good profit. And the truth is that if you were to take a regular glass and mark it up at 4.5 or 5 times, you are going to make less profit on that item, even though it's marked up 4 to 5 times, than you are in museum glass that is marked up 2 times. So don't worry about having different markups for your products that you're selling. That's okay. So go back here, and the other thing I wanted to show you is the cross-check. In here, this is also a great place, the price comparison screen, to do a cross-check. When we're creating the pricing, it's great that you look at the 8 by 10 all the way up to the 32 by 40, but you also need to look down the column as well to make sure that the price is increasing evenly for each of these. And I do have an example here where I can show you that they were not increasing evenly. So that if I was looking at this and I was going across, everything looked fine. But when I was going down the columns and I was looking at the prices that were going to go from reflection to conservation reflection, all of a sudden there was a dip in that one area. So that gave me an idea that, okay, I need to go back and check my chart, see what I've done for my calculations, and modify the pricing here so that it is in line. The other thing when you're looking at your markups in this price comparison screen is that if you have a type of glass that is your best glass or your most profitable glass, you may want to make the pricing relatively close in there so that they move up to the next grade of glass, whatever that grade is, so that you can say for $5 more, we can move up to a better grade of glass. And it makes it easier for people to move up to that next grade. So we'll go back now to the screen that we were just previously on. And wow, I have our next poll scheduled here, but I think what I'm going to do is just carry on a little bit, if that's okay. And we'll get started on the glass pricing. So let's go into the dark blue tab for the glass pricer. And I'm going to go and we're going to work on conservation clear. There are a few tools that I want you to have in place when you're doing this. One of them is that you need to have the box prices for your glass. So I've got a little chart here that's showing me that I've gone to the supplier's website, found out how much does it cost for each box, how many lights are in each box. And I'm going to use that information to create a chart that's going to give me the prices that I want for my glass pricing. I'm just going to tuck that off to the right-hand side of the screen for now. And then we're going to get started in here. And I just thought, you know what, we really should do the poll, because once we get started on this, I don't want to actually stop. So go ahead and do the next poll then, Sheila.
And that is, what type of acrylic do you use the most? None or very little, clear acrylic, conservation, reflection control, or museum? Oops. So it looks like most folks are using the clear acrylic. Next would be the conservation. Hardly anybody uses reflection control, and then museum, and none or very little are tied.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, everyone. Great. So here we're getting into the meat and potatoes now of our pricing for glass. This is the glass pricer. So I have my chart ready for me. So I know what the prices are on the conservation clear. And if in FrameReady you've used this before, then you may have an image of what your previous pricing was. The other thing that you may want to do for comparison, again, is take a look at what your current pricing is. And if you have been using a code table for it, you can go to the code tables file, all right, and take a screenshot of this. If you're on a Mac computer, you can press down the Shift, the Command, and the number 4, and that will allow you to capture this on there. So I'm just going to take a picture of that, and you can see it's going to store it onto my desktop. If you're on a Windows computer, there's a program called Snipping Tool you can use that will do the exact same thing. So having this information of what I previously was charging, okay, and what the box prices currently are is going to give me all the information that I need. And there's my old pricing up in the top right corner. I'm now going to go to the dark blue tab for glass pricing, and I'm going to click on the glass pricer. Taking a look in here, if there's old information in here, don't worry about that. You do want to remove any of the old information that's in the pink section at the top. So we're going to go in now, and this is a challenge, this one, because a lot of times the glass pricing will be the same amount for all the boxes, most of them anyway, except for the larger ones. And it makes it really easy then for us to put in one box price. In this case, it's not. So, and I know we were working on this before, and I think what I'd done before was some calculations to find out, okay, which one was the highest cost per box, and now I don't remember which one it was, but that's okay. We'll go with a 32 by 40, which is where most people do start. So my box price on the 32 by 40 is $94.99, so I'm just going to enter that in as well. And you can use any size. It doesn't have to be the 32 by 40 or the 40 by 60. You know what? Just to make it easier for me today, really, I'm just going to say the 24 by 30. Okay, because it's the same box price for a lot of these. So now for the 24 by 30, the box is 10. There are 10 lights in the box. So I'm going to click into the quantity per box field, put in 10, and now I want to go and put in the markup and the set price. Now, if you're wondering where to start, you can take a look at what you did last time, and if you just go back, use the button in the top left corner to go back to where you were before, and click on your image tab to see what it was, or if it's entered over here on the left-hand side. So we've got 3.4 and 12. So those are the numbers that I'm going to use again. So going back in here, I'm going to enter in 3.4 for the markup and then 12 for the set price. This is also a good time for you to be able to say, do I need to increase my set price? Have my labor costs are gone up, or is there shipping that's been added in now and I want to include that in there? So you can put that in as well to cover it, or you want to increase your markup. You can do that at this time. Once you've done that, you can do one of two things. If you have already weeded out some of the sizes, then I would just click on the recalculate button. But if you want to add all the sizes in, click on build new table, and that will add any missing sizes in there. So once I've done the build new table, I'm not going to click on that again. I'm going to continue to click recalculate from here on in. So now that I've got the pricing set up in here, I want to take a look and compare it to the pricing that I had previously to see what's changed. So now that let's go back and, oh, there we go. I just want this one to show up on here. So I'm going to be able to compare now for the 8 by 10, which was at $14.80 before, it's now up to $15.60. My 32 by 40 is at $57.20. And my 32 by 40 on here is at 69. So I can move this around, take a look, and make sure that I've got the pricing that I want. So if this is the price range that I want, then I'm going to be happy with that. I don't need to do any tweaking. However, if it isn't, that's where you want to go in and make those choices. Let's say you know what you want for your markup, or you know what you have been charging, and let's say that this is $16 that you've been charging here, and for the 32 by 40 you've been charging maybe $60. So if this is lower and this is higher, then what we want to do is we want to adjust the markup and the set price. We're not going to change anything else over on the left-hand side. Now, if the larger sizes are too expensive, or too low, you want to adjust the markup. So if I wanted them to go down in price, I'm going to decrease the markup and then click the recalculate button, and it's going to change it. So you can see that the 32 by 40 came down to 62 now. So I can modify that again, and let's say, there we go. I'm just going to click on that, click recalculate, and it brought it down. But now when I go up to my 8 by 10, I want to bring that up. So in that case, anything that's up or down in the smaller sizes, I want to increase or decrease. I'm going to use the set price to do that. So I want this to come up $1. So I'm going to increase the set price $1. And now click recalculate, and it's giving me the $16 here that I wanted. And miraculously, it's giving me the 60 down here as well. Sometimes if you've increased this, and let me just do that a little bit to get to where I want, and this has gone up as well, as it will, okay, then I would go back to the markup and again adjust the markup to recalculate, and then it will bring it back in line. So you're going to work with those two numbers together, the markup, which affects the larger sizes the most, and the set price, which affects the smaller sizes the most. So you can tweak that. If I was to put my regular ones in there that I had, click recalculate, and now it's calculated out all the prices for me. So I'm going to stick with this for the moment. The next thing that I want to do, once I know that the prices are fine, and this is the range that I want for my retail prices, I'm going to move over to the left-hand side of the screen and take a look at, and I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. So I'm going to take a look at the sizes that are carried, because I'm going to go down to the 32 by 40. And for the 32 by 40, the box price is the same, but there are only 6 lights in the box. And so I'm going to change that. And it's recalculated to show me the cost per light. And it also gives the cost per square inch. And this is where I start comparing things to say, okay, so this is a lower cost per square inch than the 24 by 30 is. And then if I want to go to the next size, the 24 by 36, I do need to change that box price because that one is $94.57. Okay, and then over here, the number of lights in the box, taking a look at my chart on the right-hand side, is 8. So I'm going to change that as well. And you can see that this is even more expensive cost per light. So if you did that and you decide you want your whole chart to be based on that, you do need to change those numbers at the top of the screen. And I might as well do that to show you what's going to happen, because if I change the numbers at the top of the screen and the box cost is 8, okay, and I click recalculate, I'm going to lose the other items that I've entered in here. So now I do need to go back and change those as well. But it's not difficult to do, but just allows you to make those changes. Just remember that if you do click on recalculate, it's recalculating the numbers at the top here, and you will lose the other numbers that you have down here. If you have decided to put in these other sizes, and I'm just going to put some of them in here for us. So 12, so you can see what the cost is, and is that the correct box? Yep, okay. And another one, the 24 by 30, had 10 per box, so we'll put that in as well. If you're looking over on the right-hand side and you decide that I don't want to leave that in because maybe this one is actually lower than the default, which was 137, and you want to remove that, all you need to do then is click on the Restore Default button on the right-hand side, and it's going to put it back to what it was, so it's charging that little bit more. So that's what the Restore Default button does on the right-hand side. It just removes your manual entry that you put in there, where I put the 12 in, and it's changed it back to 8. So once you've gone through this list and you've entered in all the box sizes that you have in here, and we want to go down to the larger sizes and take a look at those because they're a little bit different. So when I go back into the larger sizes, let me take a look on the right-hand side. So for the 36 by 48, which we have on this list here, 36 by 48, it's a 94 by 57. Oops. There we go. Let's move that over to there. And this is actually 4 lights per box. There we go. So we've added that in, and we've got the numbers in here. Again, I'll just change this a little bit. I'm not going to put all the exact correct numbers in here. You would do that, though, when you're doing this. You're going to put the exact numbers in there so that you know what it is. But when we get down to the bottom, let's say that there isn't anything over the 48 by 68. So in that case, then I'm going to remove the bottom items down here. But I might keep one item on here because I'd like to add on anything over 48 by 68. I'm going to give it an outrageous number over here, 9,999, so that if I'm working with a client and it goes over that, then it's going to come up with a number that's going to flag, get my attention, and say, hold it, we don't have anything available in that size. We'll have to look at either a different glass type, or I'll have to look at ordering something in. And it could be that your largest size that you carry might be the 40 by 60, in which case then delete that size as well. You're going to do that for all the sizes on here. If there are sizes that you don't carry and it doesn't make sense to leave them in the chart, then I would remove them. So let's say, for example, if you do not carry the 24 by 30, but you do order the 24 by 36, it doesn't make sense to say that I'm going to cut off 6 inches, have 6 inches of scrap that I can't use, but over here on the right-hand side, I'm going to give the customer a nice discount for the 6 inches of scrap and the cutting that I can't use. So it makes sense to delete that item and say that size is not available, so that you can modify this list to really zone in on the sizes that you do carry and leave them in the list. Now, when you get down to the very smaller sizes, you might want to leave some of those in, saying, yes, I'm going to have some scrap left over. On the other hand, you can remove any of the ones that are maybe too small and you say, I don't want to have a 5 by 7 on there. So go ahead and customize the sizes, modify them so that they are the sizes you carry. Remove any of the ones that don't make sense based on the waste or the fact that you don't carry that product. All right, and then move over to the right-hand side, because we're going to take a look at those larger items again. Moving over to the right-hand side, we have the set price. For the larger items, you have to move those. You may be a single person moving very slowly with these larger pieces of glass. You may need 2 people to help move the glass if you have other people in the shop. So you may want to add on a little bit more onto the set price. In addition to that, the set price is also going to be absorbing any breakage, so that moving with that larger piece of glass and you've broken that larger piece. So now you're thinking, well, you know, I want to be able to have something in here that's going to help me to defray the cost of this large piece of glass that I just broke, and I'm going to be out of pocket. So you could add something in here, up to you how much you want to be able to charge on here. If you're going to have the same amount for all of them, or if you're going to have a different varying amount on them, that's up to you. On the far right-hand side, you can see in the green, this is the profit that I'm going to receive. And the reason that the profit shows up on some of them and not the others is because I've entered in the box price and the number per box. So it's calculating it out directly, so that way it can give me the true profit that I'm going to make on this. So we've got all the information in there, and let's say that we've done the chart exactly the way we want. We've entered in all of our box prices. We've removed the things that we don't need or the sizes that don't make sense. We've added on any additional fees for the set price that we need. Next thing that we want to do is we want to update this on the code tables. If you don't have a code table for this type of glass, then take a look at your chart, and the next item that I would add in is GL09. So that would be the next one that I would type in, GL09, for glazing chart number 9. And as I said, it doesn't matter what you call this. It's just something short and easy for the computer to read. Now, if I click on the update code, it's going to create a brand new code for this. But if this is the glass pricing that I'm using for glass fitting conservation number 3, then number 3, so that I'm going to overwrite the chart that I had previously used. So I'm going to go up to the top of the screen and click on that. But just before I do, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to do that screen capture. And I'm going to either use the snipping tool on Windows or the Shift Command 4 on my Mac. And I'm going to take a shot of this screen. I'm actually including the top portion up here where I've got my details of the width and the height that I've used, the cost per box and everything, and the profit line as well. So I've got a screenshot that I've saved. I'm going to go up to the top right-hand corner. I'm going to click on Update Code Table. And now it's updated my code table. The old price chart that I had in there is gone. Here's the old price chart that you can compare to. And so the 8x10 is no longer being priced at $14.80. It's now being priced at $15.70. And same thing with the other pricing down below, it's all changed. So if I go back to this chart, I'm going to rename this again and say observation clear. There we go. You can put a title in there if you want. You can leave it blank if you want. I find it helpful to have something in there, and then update the date as well. If this is a new chart that you're creating, this may be empty here where it says items using this table. So if there's nothing in there, that means the chart has been created, but you haven't connected the chart to the product or the item that's using it. So we're going to click on the Done button in the top right-hand corner. And when we go back here, if you haven't connected it already, then you would go to the Glazing Pricing tab, click on the Code tab, and then click on this window to select the Conservation Clear if it isn't in here already. Otherwise, it's in here now, and then all I need to do is click on the Reset button, and it's going to put in the new pricing for me. So there's the new pricing that I have in there. It's just updated it to recalculate. The next thing I want to do is I want to go up to the top right-hand corner, and I'm going to click on this date and say I've changed the date. That pricing is no longer in effect as of 2019. I've updated it now. The other thing is to go to the Image tab, because I have the old image in here from the old pricing, and down here you can see that I had made a note of what the pricing was, what was the box price. I may have also wanted to put in there how many lights were in that box, okay, so that I know, and then the markup and the set price. I'm going to click once on the image. I'm going to hit the backspace key and delete the image. So it's gone. But now I want to add that image in. And if it is on your desktop, I'll close that, then you can just take it and drag it in there. If not, you can click on, let me take that out again. You can click on the Add a Photo button. Okay, and it will ask you where is this located, and then you can go ahead and find it. Okay, just easier for me to just click and drag. The other thing that I want to do in here is I want to update the information on the left-hand side of the screen. So I'm going to take, and I'm using the 40 by 60, so the cost has gone up now from 36.40, it's now up to 40.55, so I've entered that in there. The markup is still the same, the set price is still the same, that's fine. And the other note that I want to enter in here is that I want to put in today's date, and I want to type in also the cost of the box price that I've used. Whatever, if I'm going to be comparing apples to apples, I want to use the same one, so it's the 32 by 40, okay, so box of 6 lights for the 32 by 40. And then you also want to enter in the markup that you used and the set price. So it's good to document those in there, because once you've deleted that image, that information is no longer there. And you can see how much the prices are increasing during a certain time as well. Now, sometimes people think that I'm pricing by light size and I've got the 3.4 markup in there and I want to update that. And you might think I'm just going to come in here, I'm going to change that. I want to make it a 6 times markup. Okay, and when you do that, nothing happens over here. Nothing is going to change this, because the code table takes precedence over the markup and set price. So this is only here for information only when you're using a code table. If I was not using a code table and I remove this code table, okay, now I'm pricing by United Inch area. Now, definitely, then this markup will make a difference over on the right-hand side, and the prices went up. So if I change the markup here, yes, the prices are going to change on the right-hand side. However, when I'm using a code table, the code table takes precedence, and the markup and set price are for reference only, so that I know what the markup was that I used. And when I go back to my price comparison chart in the bottom left-hand corner, oops, I've got for everything right now. So let's go back to list view at the top, find just the marked records that I'm looking for, sort them out by cost. We'll go to any one of these items and then click on the price comparison button in the left-hand side. So now I can see my new pricing in here. that's added in. And I can take a look and see what the markups are that I've used for the other items. And then I can see that maybe I need to increase my markup, or I need to update this item because maybe the costs have gone up for that as well. If I go back to the list view, that's where I can see for sure that this item has been updated. It has the new date in here. The other items have not been updated yet and do need to be updated. So I would recommend maybe every 6 months to a year at least go in and take a look at your pricing to update them. Prices are changing quite a bit now. If you get a new chart or a price chart from the company that supplies you with glass, go in and check what you have in here. And you can certainly go in and change the prices here, but remember, it's not going to update your retail prices if you are pricing by a code table. So if you see the code table here, it's not going to work. However, if you are pricing by the mirror, or you're pricing the acrylic, then yes, you can just go ahead and change the number here for the size, and then remember to go over to the right-hand side and change the date. So if you're pricing simply by the markup and set price, yes, this is the way to update. If you're pricing by the code table, my suggestion then is that you're going to go back in here, click on the glass pricer, and you're going to go ahead, change the markup, change the box price, do your recalculate, and then go ahead and update your code table. Super. Well, thank you, everyone, and we will see you next time. Have a great day.
Bye. Thank you.